Hey everybody, and welcome to the Imagineers Disney Podcast. My name is Matt, I'm your host, and I am joined by my co-host, Susie. Hi Susie.
Hello everyone, and hello Matt.
Hello. Hope everybody's having a fantastic start to their week. I know summer is almost ending, I know.
What a bummer.
Yeah, I can't believe how fast the summer went. I feel like we had Flower and Garden Festival at Epcot, and then turn the corner and it's July 4th, and then
this year's flying by.
Toy Story Land opening, and it's been mostly great. So.
Yeah, as of the recording of this, I have not been to Toy Story Land yet, but my trip's coming up very, 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 very soon, and I can't wait. I keep looking like every day at, counting the days and just getting very excited. But I feel like when we do anything covering Disney stuff, the year goes by faster because things come up so much sooner. Like fall starts in like August, and Christmas comes out in like the beginning of November. So
yep, the holidays are rolling in, and we're gonna have some really great episodes coming up. I'm really excited for them. So we'll have Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, and then you got Food and Wine opening in Epcot soon. Then, of course, all the Christmas stuff that's going to be coming up. And, so it's going to be a busy fall.
Absolutely.
Lots to talk about. So we are going to continue our series of our favorite things. And this week we are actually going to discuss my favorite ride.
Oh, we are?
We are.
What's your favorite ride?
See, here's the thing. Like,
Okay.
I kind of have a couple, but I'm not going to talk about...
That's not how this works.
Well, I can have more than one favorite.
Okay. But if you had to pick tell us the other ones that are honorable mention.
So the honorable mention is Flight of Passage. Because I really do think that it is one of the best, if not the best, the most ambitious ride that the Imagineering team has come up with ever. Definitely.
By far.
So, incredible experience, but I don't have the emotional connection, like the history behind that ride that I do with my other favorite ride. And that is actually a ride that Susie has never been
on. From all the things I've had to confess I haven't done, I don't feel that narrows it down too much. Actually, it does. There's maybe like, I don't know, 3 or 4 things I haven't done, but this is definitely one of them that I know I have to do.
I am kind of curious now. So are there other rides you have not done?
Yes, there's other rides I haven't done.
Such as?
I haven't done Cali River Rapids. We were going to do that the last trip, but...
Not missing much, but I still think you need to do it.
I need to do it. Water rides are just tricky because you have to have, poncho. I don't want to get soaking wet. I don't want to walk around all day wet. So you got to plan those accordingly.
Fair enough.
I do that every time we do Splash Mountain. Get the poncho, put all that. Yeah. I haven't done Rock and Roller Coaster.
Really?
Yeah. Really no one in my traveling group is a big roller coaster fan, and I've kind of eased off of it over the last couple of years, just going to Disney so much. We don't do too many thrill rides. So I could do it. I haven't. This one that we're about to talk about. And I'm sure there's one more out there somewhere. I just can't think of it. So I'm just going to give myself a buffer and we'll say 4.
Okay. There we go.
There you go. Confession time over. But so on to your favorite ride.
Yeah. So enough of the suspense. Ooh, suspense. Speaking of suspense. Ooh,
what a hint. Is it a hint?
Yes. One of the most suspenseful rides, maybe, ever.
Yeah.
Kind of got this feeling of dread all the way through it. What's going to happen? That perfectly describes the Twilight Zone, Tower of Terror.
Dun, dun, dun. That's not any real music. It's just to make it sound dramatic.
There you go. There's the music.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of music, we'll get to it in a minute. That's actually one of the things that makes this ride so great. In my opinion, I think that this is one of the best themed rides. The ride itself is great. The ride decorations, like the atmosphere surrounding the ride. I mean, everything is just so cohesive, and it's such a unique experience that everything just ties in perfectly, and it's phenomenal. I think it is one of the best attractions that the Disney Imagineering team has ever done, hands down.
That's a big claim.
Yep. So actually, let's go back to where it all started, and that was with the opening of Hollywood Studios, or MGM Studios.
Oh, yeah. Back in my day, kids.
I know a lot of people actually still refer to it as MGM. It's like, oh,
yeah, I did for a long time. That, and it took me forever to get out of saying Downtown Disney.
Yeah.
Go to Disney Springs.
So MGM Studios, and back in the late 80s when they were planning the very first expansion of MGM Studios, and that was actually the Sunset Boulevard expansion. So Sunset Boulevard was not originally part of the park. It was not there when it opened.
Interesting fact.
So they expanded, and they had several ideas. They knew they wanted a ride at the end of the boulevard that was going to be like an icon, like the thrill ride of the park. And Michael Eisner, had in his brain that, he wanted to kind of have it kind of scary-ish, sort of. The park itself was really geared towards the older crowd. So you had Magic Kingdom with, It's a Small World and Space Mountain and,
Yeah.
all the
classics.
Very
family friendly.
Very family friendly, and it's not like he didn't want it family friendly, but he wanted to, add something that adults could enjoy. Also wanted to compete with Universal down the road because they were opening their park. So, I mean, and that's why, Indiana Jones and Star Tours are some of those big attractions in the park. And so he wanted something a little different for the end of Sunset Boulevard. And a lot of ideas were really thrown out. So there was an idea going on at the time that Stephen King, the ride was going to be based off Stephen King novels. I don't think that got very far.
I don't think so either.
But, some of those would have been interesting. Like, I don't know.
Like Pluto dressed as Cujo.
Or the Dark Tower. But another idea that was actually thrown out, and this one I thought, if this actually had happened, I think it would have been so cool. And it's almost, it's very similar to what they're actually doing with Galaxy's Edge and the Star Wars Hotel. So they're planning this big immersive experience. It starts as soon as you get through the doors of the hotel, and then you're there. So the original idea was to actually have an actual hotel in the same building area as the ride. And I even think that ideas were thrown out where you would have been picked up from the airport in like this car that would have had blacked out windows, but you would immediately start having the theming all the way to Disney, and then as soon as you get to Disney, the first thing you see is the hotel.
And you're in that time period immediately.
Yep.
That would be really cool.
So it's kind of cool actually seeing them, well, at least we think, going that direction for the new Star Wars hotel. So that'll be fun. Another, expensive. Yeah,
totally all of my money.
But another idea was, and actually got really far in negotiations with Mel Brooks. So there was an original idea where they were actually going to do a ride based off of Young Frankenstein.
Okay. I would have liked that too. These are all really, I mean, Stephen King's a bit dark perhaps for Disney, but
at least Young Frankenstein is both, it's dark, but also funny.
It's so, and it's so iconic. That still would have fit in really well with the MGM old Hollywood vibe that they've got going on just because of the time period it was made in.
Yeah, and it was going to be like this like Bavarian village down at the end, and so eventually they went away from that, and they went on to the next idea where Mel Brooks was actually going to narrate this attraction, and it was going to be like in this haunted like hotel, and that fell through, but they kept the idea of the hotel, and that is where they landed with the Twilight Zone. So they picked the Twilight Zone. The Imagineers actually watched all, I think, 156 episodes of the entire series and got inspiration from the show itself. And so what we have today is what they ended up landing on, and that is the drop ride themed after the Twilight Zone. So
if you don't know what Twilight Zone is, first of all, go check it out. I think it's still on Netflix, or at least part of the show is, but it's an old show from the 1950s and 60s, and it takes you. It's a very like mind blown, mind twisting type of show with plots with weird endings, and they're like each episode is like an individual story. So there's all types of different things. There's like space stuff, but the whole thing is like this a different dimension beyond what we're in right now. That everything kind of falls back into that. You know how like in Star Wars, when anything doesn't fit, they just blame it on the Force. Like in Twilight Zone, if anything is just like whatever weird happens in an episode, well, it's Twilight Zone. That's how it goes. So it's a kind of a scary show, but it's kind of also really cool.
Yeah, it was a great show, and like some of my favorite episodes, like Eye of the Beholder. Is
yes.
A good one. So
yeah, the one with on the airplane with William Shatner, where he like
I can't remember
pulls
the name
the
of that
window
one.
thing.
I can't remember the
It's
name.
like
of that
Nightmare
one.
at something.
Yeah,
1,000
like
feet.
30,000. Yeah.
Terrifying. I hate ventriloquism or like dummies.
Yep, the dummies.
There's a dummy one, and that's scary as mess. Yeah.
And we'll actually get to some of the theming that they did with those, because some of those episodes kind of live within the ride themselves. So.
Okay, guys, I'm learning so much tonight.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting Susie has not actually ridden the ride. So yeah, Susie, you need to experience the ride, really? Not just for the ride, but everything else.
I'm really learning all the things. It's Twilight Zone themed, but like I don't remember a like elevator.
No. Okay. So
episode.
The ride is not based on an episode. It is an original idea, and so basically the background of the ride itself and the story is great. I mean, not a lot of Disney rides can boast this deep of a story. You learn, like, once you actually get in the ride and get into, like, this pre-show area, you learn that, you know, during the height of Hollywood back in the 30s, we're talking the same year that Gone with the Wind was being made and
Wizard of
Oz, that there's this hotel, 1939, and on October 31st, a group of 5 individuals got into an elevator. The elevator started going up to the top floor. Lightning struck the elevator, and they were transported into the Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone.
Never to be seen again.
That is such a... Disney had a movie.
Yes.
Yep. I know it's familiar enough, but I know it wasn't a show.
Right.
So
it was a made for TV movie. It had Steve Guttenberg. It had Kirsten Dunst.
That's right. Yep. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
90s flashbacks, everybody.
So and that was
a scary little movie for...
Yeah, that was 1997, I believe. And so that was a few years actually the ride opened. So they, just kind of expounded on the theme of the Twilight Zone and the story of the ride and made it into a feature-length movie.
Well, they've been doing that for the last couple of years, making rides into movies. And as
Pirates.
We just had Pirates and Haunted Mansion. And
we won't talk about that one, though.
Yeah. Sorry, Eddie Murphy. And the teaser for the Jungle Cruise movie just came out.
Yes.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested.
A movie full of puns is right up my alley, and I'm offended they did not ask me to write it. But anyway, I digress. Tower of Terror.
Where were we?
Opposite of a cheesy pun.
Yes.
Boat ride.
So.
Terror.
Where were we? Oh, yes. Okay, so the people disappear from the elevator, never to be seen again. And what's really interesting about the ride and the actual show building itself, after the incident, the hotel basically shut down. Like, it is a moment frozen in time. So you start walking up through the gates on the outside in the garden.
And it's just like they've left it completely
completely abandoned. Cool. And I know I mentioned the music that plays in the queue. So all the music is from that era, and it's put through like an echo chamber. So it has that really creepy ghost eerie thing. So like my favorite one, Vera Lynn, who was a vocalist back then, her song "We'll Meet Again." Don't know where, don't know when.
That gets a totally different meaning when it's.
But
like
I know we'll meet again
hotel.
some sunny day. Yeah, it is so creepy but amazing. So that's playing as you go through the queue.
Rides set the mood like that, instantly.
Then you walk through the doors into the lobby, and like I said, everything is frozen in time. So there's people were checking in, so there's suitcases on the floor. There's newspaper with like a room key. Someone had already checked in, signed in the guest book, ready to go upstairs. There's a table with mahjong. Am I saying that right? Mahjong. It's like a little domino type game thing. It was apparently really popular back then. But like, there's a game on the table, and it's like it was just left. There's coffee cups, like with the dried coffee, like just sitting there. Wilted flowers. They took so many steps to decorate this place. The furniture is from actual buildings from that era, like that they went and bought and found and searched for. So antique furniture.
A lot of attention to detail.
Yep. The light fixtures are from that era as well. So the influences of the design of the lobby and the building itself draw from that time period. So, and then on top of that, there's just like a layer of dust just on everything. Cobwebs.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. Then you go into once you leave the lobby, you go into the pre-show area. It's in the library. And you are introduced to this video that explains basically everything we said earlier about how, the events of October 31st, 1939 took place, and how they entered into the Twilight Zone. There's some really cool stuff inside the room itself. In the pre-show video, the little girl that is in the elevator is carrying a Mickey Mouse doll. So there you go. Hidden Mickey.
Hidden Mickey. Literal Mickey.
Hidden Mickey. Then there's actually a piece of sheet music in the room as well, and I believe the song is called "What? No Mickey Mouse?" So kind of a Hidden Mickey-ish. Now, I know you said you didn't like, what was it, the Jack in the Box? Did you see that episode? It was a William Shatner episode where it's like the devil, like the possessed Jack in the Box type thing.
Oh, the dummy?
No, not the dummy. There's another episode, but the box with the devil head on it is like on top of the bookshelf. So.
Oh, okay.
And then from that room, after you see the video, you go through the basement boiler room area, and there's Mickey in there. There used to be one with the rope, but I actually haven't seen the rope shaped like the Mickey silhouette in a long time. But that used to be a thing.
Well, it may not have been an official hidden Mickey.
I don't think it was an official one, but it used
told
to be
us
there
that
all the time.
On the when we did Keys to the Kingdom a couple years ago, that if you go through and like you see hidden Mickey and you go through the next time and it's not there, it's because an official member of the Imagineers team has removed it, because sometimes the cast members will go in and make hidden Mickeys, but if it's not an official one that they've designed, they take it down, and then the cast members kind of like go back in and put it back.
Yes. I know they do that in the Haunted Mansion sometimes.
Mm-hmm. With the plates.
Yep. So once you go through that little boiler room area in the basement, you actually enter into the service elevator. So the service elevator is your ride vehicle, since, the main elevator is all busted up because it fell.
Of course.
13 floors.
Don't want to get in that one.
Nope.
13 floors.
Actually, one of the most interesting things about the ride system, because they had to develop a completely different ride system when they built the ride. They designed what are called automated guided vehicles. So the vehicle itself is not actually on a track. It follows, it's on wheels, and it rolls, and it basically follows this magnetic strip in the floor. So you don't see any track as you're going through the ride. You just kind of smoothly move around. Mm-hmm. So when you ride, you start in the service elevator and you go up, and the doors open, and this is your there's a sequence where there's lots of effects going on. They use some depth of field tricks with the distortion, so it makes the hallway look longer than it is. They use the Pepper's Ghost effect with the actual 5 people from the elevator from the pre-show video that disappeared, and like they are like beckoning you, and the little girl sings "It's raining, it's pouring." It's super creepy, and awesome.
Yeah.
Then the door closes
out already,
and then you go up again, and this time you move through. So you move through the building, and this was unique for this attraction. There are clones of this ride. There was one in Disneyland for a long time until just a couple of summers ago with the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, but originally it was the Tower of Terror. And the Hollywood Studios one, unlike the one in Disneyland, actually moves through the building itself. The one in Disneyland just goes up and down, some doors open, but that's it. So you don't actually move. So you actually go through the fifth dimension sequence inside the ride, and there's lots of Twilight Zone references going on there. And then you hit a star field, you see this giant star field, and then the star field like disappears into these 2 lines that come together, and then it opens up, and you are entering into the elevator shaft. Then you hear the words of Rod Serling, well, not actually him, but a voice actor that sounds very much like him. Yep, says, "You are about to discover what lies beyond the 5th dimension, beyond the deepest, darkest corner of the imagination in the Tower of Terror." And as soon as he says that, the drop sequence starts. There's flashes of electricity, and you go, and this is the other thing that makes this ride great. So there have been several variations and modifications done to the ride itself. So when the ride first opened, there was 1 drop.
I feel like I could handle that.
You go up, you go down,
and you're done. Get off. Never do it again. I could do that.
2 years later, they added a 2nd drop, and then that was 2 years later. And in 1999, they added a triple drop, and then for the 10-year anniversary in 2004, they added what I think one of the most ingenious things that they've ever done. It's drop randomization. So
I remember when that change came out.
Yep.
Not that I wrote it, but I remember thinking, oh my gosh, that's terrifying.
When you enter into the elevator shaft, a computer selects one of 4 random drop sequences. So you literally have no idea which one you're going to get.
Yeah.
Now every sequence has a faux drop, a fake one, where you kind of drop, but you don't. You feel like you're about to drop. And then every ride will have a full drop. So 12 floors down to 1. Full drop. The ride system itself, the elevator shaft, it's actually really impressive. So they had to go to Otis Elevator and customize these elevator cars. And they're like, well, normally we don't, try to make them go fast, but but there are 2 motors that sit at the top of the tower. So you don't actually fall from the very top, because the very top actually has the motors that controls the ride itself. But they're 130,000 pounds. They're 12 feet tall, 35 feet long. They produce 270 times the amount of torque as a Corvette engine.
Oh my gosh.
And it's 15 times faster than a normal elevator.
Oh my gosh.
And
you're not making a good case
you reach a top speed of 39 miles per hour in 1.5 seconds on that full drop. And that is what gives the weightless sensation.
And causes Susie to black out. I don't like heights, if y'all haven't figured that out. I don't mind roller coasters where it's over very quickly and like there's other stuff going on, but this is an exaggeration of the fear of heights, which is falling from heights. But
it's only
I did not realize it went that fast.
Yeah, 39 miles an hour at its top speed. And
wow.
That is where you're so you are strapped into your chair. There is a lap
belt. Oh, but that's the
yeah, you're coming up. You're coming off of your seat. So it's so great. Anyway, so you do your random drop sequence, and then you come down back into the basement, and there are a few items from the actual show, references to the show, like the dummy.
Ugh.
The dummy's sitting over in the corner, just staring at you.
So terrifying. Even if it hadn't been for the episode, it's still terrifying.
So yeah, and classic ride, like from the story, from the queue to the pre-show, the ride sequence itself, the amount of trickery that they used to actually incorporate Rod Serling into the ride. So Rod, who was the host of the show, died long before the attraction was made. So they took a clip, and you hear him most in the pre-show. And they took a clip from an episode that kind of fit what they were talking about. And then when they ran out of that, they switched over to the voice actor. And that's when they start talking about the elevator and the ride itself. But you see him kind of a couple times throughout the ride, even at the end. It's one of the last things that you see.
I like that.
Yeah, the people that fell in the elevator car and Rod kind of like swirl into the Twilight Zone vortex that you see in the show a lot. And then the elevator doors close. So, yeah. You enter the 5th dimension. That is always referenced in the show.
Yeah. We finally get to go into it.
Yep.
Okay.
It
all sounded so good until about 3 minutes ago when you got to what the ride part actually does. That I've only heard good things from it. But now that I know all these other details, it's extremely tempting to want to go ride it because I love the show Twilight Zone. So it's...
We're just going to have to go do it.
Yes.
Sometimes you can actually get so when you get to the top of the ride, the elevator doors open.
Right, and you can see out.
Yeah, sort of.
A little.
Most of the time, the actual Hollywood Tower sign kind of obstructs your view a little bit.
Okay.
And that's actually where they have the cameras that take your photo.
I would not want to see what my picture looks like after that ride.
We were sorry to throw my friend under the bus here. Friend of ours, Elena, rode this ride with us for the first time a few years ago, and she was sitting next to my wife, And she started screaming into my wife's arm when the elevator went up. And then when the elevator came back down, she bit down.
Oh my God.
So the right photo shows my wife screaming as our friend is biting her arm.
That's so embarrassing.
So,
I don't think I would get that to that point.
it was pretty funny.
If I would be squeezing the crap out of someone's hand, but I don't think I'd bite. So good to know that I won't be the worst, visitor to ride it. Someone else had a worse experience than I did. Actually, sounds like Rebecca had a worse experience than your friend did.
I would say close your eyes, but sometimes that doesn't.
No, I want to know what's going on.
So the amount of time that you're actually going up and down, falling, going back up, you're really only, it's like 40 seconds. So it's not terrible. But yeah, that big drop is probably 2.5.
I'll start mentally preparing for it.
That's what it is. Just a mental game. That's all it is. It's all mental. It's all in the head. That's all it is.
Okay.
So anyway, so there is my favorite ride, and we have talked about Susie's favorite ride a little more calm.
A lot calmer. It's interesting. My favorite ride, Kilimanjaro Safaris, is the largest. Your favorite ride is the tallest.
Yes, that is true.
A lot of top of the, ists for Disney rides.
So we would love to know what your favorite ride is. So
yes, let us know.
So leave a comment in the comment section and let us know. What is your very favorite ride that you like to do at Disney World? Join in on the conversation on social media and be sure to go like our page. We are on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and be sure to subscribe to the podcast. So I think that's going to do it for us this week. So until next time, everyone, remember, for those of you who made it, a friendly word of warning, something you won't find in any guidebook. The next time you check into a deserted hotel on the dark side of Hollywood, make sure you know just what kind of vacancy you're filling, or you may find yourself a permanent resident of the Twilight Zone.
Dun, dun, dun.